This is a sequel to one of my earlier video essays, Home of the Soul. I want to take you all back to the last night I saw my father. I mentioned this in the last video, but let me remind everyone what happened. I come home one night, one evening, and my wife is crying at the door. She's opening the door for me. I ask her, "What's wrong?" And she just wouldn't respond to what I said. So I go to my mother because I thought they had probably had an argument, or what have you. I go to the kitchen nook, and my mother's completely in tears. I ask her, "What's wrong?" Said, "Your father passed." And immediately I knew what happened. Now, my father was on his way down health wise. He made one last decision, which we all knew that possibly over time would not mean that he'll make it. And I planned to see him that Sunday. When I received this news, it was on Thursday evening. So hearing this and watching the reason why my wife and my mother were both upset, crying, I just said I need to see him one last time. So we all drove to the hospital. I was in no shape to drive. That was up to my wife, and she did such a great job driving to the hospital that I was really upset. We went to the hospital, spoke with the doctor. The doctor informed me what happened. Went to my father's room in the hospital that he stayed in, and I saw him. I saw the husk of my father. The physical body, which held a soul, was there. But the soul that was once my father was not there. I will say for an hour to maybe an hour and a half, I was there with him one last time. Just remembering him the way he used to be. Remembering him and speaking with family and relatives on the phone and saying what happened, telling them the sad news. I was in that room, but my father was no longer with me. And I remember all the times when I would see him in the hospital, and I told him how much I loved him and that I would, in fact, would be there for him. And he had just passed an hour before our arrival. So that night, everything was still new. Now I'm faced with a brand new reality, and I've been facing this for the past 6 years. But that evening, that night, when I was in the hospital room, that is goes along with this title. Therein lies a soul that wasn't there anymore. What I'm about to say may sound a bit preachy. I don't mean to preach on purpose, but I gotta say something. And it's something that this world far too often misses out the main point. The person that you are seeing right now, me, Charles, I am animating this body through my soul, which is inhabiting this body. Yes, I do have a brain that processes information. I do have a heart that pumps blood. I have veins going across my body to distribute that blood wherever it is needed. I have legs, I have toes to help me walk from one destination to another. I have arms that help me reach. I have hands that are used to type up my stories and poems or when I was writing, use that with an instrument to write out my thoughts, my feelings, and my words to you, the audience. I have eyes in which I am looking right into a camera. I have a mouth that expresses my very thoughts and feelings to you, the audience. But it cannot be accomplished without the use of a soul, the breath of God that resides in all of us living today. And my father, when I saw him that last time, that soul went back to the Father. And my father's final destination, only the Father knows. We miss out on the main point that we have a soul. The pigmentation of our skin matters to those who it matters the most to. The height in which we stand also matters the most to whoever it is important to. I'm sorry, I had a my mother's outside the door. So I'm saying all these things, and I wanted to make this point because not that the outside world isn't important. Issues affecting us in the outside department as far as race, social status, gender issues, you name it. They're all important. But in the larger scheme of life, we all have a soul. We all have a spirit from God that inhabits this body to help us operate this frame we call a human body. Now, I would say that in this body, we're going to do tremendous things if we're able to. And on the other hand, we're going to make blunders and mistakes that make you shake your head. Like, why would I do that? What was wrong with me when I made that mistake? We meet someone and we dedicate a life of love and happiness and peace. And that's all anyone would ever want to look for. Peace. We live ever since the year 2000 arrived. We have been under constant worry and constant bickering and arguing. You can say it's algorithms, but it's much more than that. It's individuals, it's corporations, it's groups, societies, if you want to believe that cause us to take our focus away from what is important in life to the could-be's and would-be's in life that eventually never happen. For example, when Y2K arrived, we've heard all kind of horror stories of what could happen. And this is 3 years before Y2K happened, from my earliest knowledge, right? Even before that, like 1996, you're starting hearing stories about Y2K. This is what's going to happen. Our souls were being distressed. All the information that we are taking in and worried about Y2K, about missile silos, were going to be inoperative. Missiles are going up in the air. The banks, the ATMs will go out of control. Our cars' computer chips will suddenly malfunction. Human society will be at a standstill. You remember those days, right? You remember the worry, the constant hand wringing and biting of nails. And how did people react? Stockpiling their bunkers with food and guns, preparing for the worst. Never happened. We worried and took in all the information and worried so much about what was going to happen instead of what actually did happen. My cousin had a boyfriend, and we were watching a movie, a Denzel Washington movie. And we were watching all of these, in the movie, the Middle Eastern people rounded up into these camps. And he was saying, that's what's going to happen. And it never did, right? Never did. And the reason for that was it's a good talking point. And to the larger point when it comes to our soul, right? I know what you're thinking. Why would I get into this discussion? I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. We did the same thing with 2012. The Mayan prophecies, right? And everything else that went along with it. This is what's going to happen to the planet Earth. The electromagnetic forces will suddenly go haywire. Our minds taking all this information and it worries our souls, and then we become distressed. We have allowed ourselves to believe, as I like to call, wild imaginations, because we want to believe in all of the narratives out there. We are a feel-good species. We want to feel good. We want to feel justified. We want. It's the same attitude we had as young people, as young children. We want, instead of we need. We need to listen to reason. The algorithms give you what you want to hear. Doom, gloom, racial divisions, stories that make you feel good, stories that make you feel like you have allies, stories that make you feel superior than the rest. Do our souls need to absorb all that information? No. My father, tying back to him, watched mostly television, but he didn't spend time watching the news. He spent time watching old television shows, old westerns, old movies that made him feel good, and he loved to watch. Sometimes early in the morning, I would see him stand up and watching the movie, because when he wasn't feeling all that good, he would just watch a movie, make him feel a lot better, and go right back to sleep. Our hearts, our spirits need peace. We need peace. And of course, we can tie it into treating our fellow man better. We can tie it to treating anyone we may have a disagreement better. But we all need peace. We all need that comfort that somehow my soul needs just peace, just a chance to relax. We get bombarded with all this stuff on a daily basis. We see the same things over and over again on social media and on this forum and any of the platforms out there that appeal to our righteousness, because we want to feel righteous. We want to feel right. We feel like the Most High has the wind at our backs. We feel like the great I Am is on our side. And he is always on our side. But the one thing that we have to understand, we have that soul. And that soul cannot spend time worrying about things that we have no control over. Let me share with you this. When I was working for the school district, they offered a free counseling seminar, or a free counseling session, 3 of them. And automatically the counselor and I spoke for those sessions, and she mentioned that one of the basic problems that I had back then was that I don't control what I need to control. And whatever I cannot control, I try to control it. My confusion is just like with anyone else's. We want to control what we can't control, right? We want to fix the problems going on in Washington, D.C. Guess what? The way I can do that is I vote for whoever I want to vote for. If you like that guy, fine. If you like that guy, better. If you like him or her or someone, it's up to you. But our souls, man, we spend so much time absorbing content, and we spend so many years absorbing content that we feel like we're not in control of our own lives anymore. It has been 24 years since Y2K. And let me ask you, do you feel like you're in control of your life? Or are you just merely going to say that secret society is controlling you? So, let me ask you the question. Did that secret society control which clothes to wear? Did it intercede in the way that you choose your shoes to walk for the day? The toothbrush brand or the toothpaste brand that you use, did you or were you influenced by them? The hooded figures who walk around chanting whatever they're chanting, did they force you to buy that brand of toothpaste, that brand of deodorant, that car that you're driving? Those are all choices you made. You made those choices how you prepare yourself in the morning. Now, if you want to say they talk to your boss, that's up in the air. But I would say they have so much time talking to Chad, your office manager, and saying, make sure you get rid of that person. Fire them. Right? The Illuminati, as we like to picture them, may be a powerful organization, but this sure ain't that powerful. What I'm trying to say is that you are in charge of your own decisions. You, watching this, watching me, you are in charge of your own decisions. Your soul, the body that you inhabit, that operates this to make your own best judgment, that is who you're controlling. I made a decision to raise my right hand because I made a decision. Or my left hand. We have to stop giving power to those individuals and entities that deserve none. Because at the end of the day, we will be judged on our souls, the decisions we made, the people that we treated, the people we've forgiven or have not forgiven. We'll decide whether or not we have been open and honest with people. People that we've hurt and didn't mean to hurt, but still we hurt them. We will have to give an account of why we made the decisions that we made, or why do we believe those entities and wild imaginations the way we did, and why we didn't have faith to believe in the one true God that trumps all of that. irony for a nation that supposedly believes in God, we don't put much trust and faith in him that much. That's something I want to leave all of you as I tend to close this essay. Everything I said boils down to the soul. And remember, in the very beginning, I mentioned the function of my physical body is generated by the animated soul that lives within it. But in the case of my father, once that soul is gone, the body may remain for a short while. But after the soul is departed, there'll be no use to animate that body anymore, or to have the fears that that mind believed while it was inside this body. Do you want to live a stress-free life? Do you, watching this right now, do you want peace? Do you want to live a life where you don't have to accept every opinion? And we do have to remind ourselves that everything is said is opinion unless it's proven by fact. Or do we generally want to live in a world where we believe everything and anything because it's out there? The bigger question should be, which direction do I want my soul to go? How will my story end? There are a billion people, over a billion people on this earth right now. A billion people with the soul, the breath of God in each body. When those souls are reclaimed to the Father, he will have billions of stories to choose from. And our destination will be set based on the stories that we share with him. My father wrote his story, and the Father justly has determined how that will all end. The one question I want to ask you, how will your story end? Make sure it's a good one. Take care.